So what I've done now, you can see, is I've actually put this function definition inside the grid object. So I've used this JavaScript syntax. This is pure JavaScript over here, nothing to do with Alpha 5. So inside the grid object, I've created a function called OpenGrid2, and then here's what I pasted, excepting that I've gone now and I've changed the arguments of the function to be filter and args. So, and then there was a line over here that referred to, I think, this or LEID or something that I deleted. I don't quite recall what it was, but you'll see it when you paste in the code. And then what I've done is I've gone to the go.baseFilter, and I've replaced the filter with just filter, which references this argument, and go.arguments, I've replaced whatever was there with args, which references this value over here. So essentially what I've done is now I've added a new method to the grid object called underbar grid2, which can be called with two parameters, filter and args, which of course I'm going to read from the inner HTML of the div that I wrote back to. So now that I actually have this function, let's go now back to our XBasic over here, and now I'm going to uncomment this line over here. And so this is the JavaScript response that is being sent back to the client when the user clicks the button. So here is the code that we've already discussed that is filling in the inner HTML of these two divs with the filter and the arguments, but I actually don't need this anymore because I'm going to be able to construct my call to the function directly from the Ajax callback. So these two lines here were mostly just to demonstrate the inner workings of this functionality. So here you can see in my Ajax callback, I'm going to invoke this method, the OpenGrid2 method of the grid object, and I'm going to pass into it as the first argument the filter, which previously I was writing to the inner HTML over there, and I'm also going to pass in the arguments. So in fact, let me comment out those two lines over there because we don't actually even need them, and now test out my code. So before I test out the code, let me go and remove this debug1 statement over there and then save this away. And so now I've commented out these two JavaScript commands that are setting the inner HTML, and all I'm doing is calling the OpenGrid function now. So let's go over back to working preview and check 3 rows and then click the Ajax callback, and you can see there's my 3 rows opened up, and we're no longer writing into that div over there. So basically what I've shown here is that it's actually quite easy to do what I've done. The key was creating this JavaScript function over here to open the grid, and being able to use Action JavaScript to write the code for me and then just copy the code. So as you recall, we used Action JavaScript to create the event handler for this button, which we don't need now. We can go and delete this button. And then when I went to view this, I just went to view JavaScript, and then I switched over to declarations global, and then I copied the body of the function declaration over there. I changed the argument, the function parameters. I deleted this line because we're no longer going to be passing in object Ellie anymore, and we don't need it. And then I changed this line to point to arguments, which was passed in, and I changed this line over here. So I hope you found that interesting. Thanks very much.